3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Welcome to Roots of Reality. My name is Ben Baumann. I am your host, and today we're going to be talking about Phase 2, the origins of life on Earth. Now I'm going to take you back 3.5 billion years ago, when the first life on Earth began. But before we can even make sense of life on Earth, we need to know how and why did life occur in the first place? What is life? Well, when it comes to the definition of life, it can vary depending on who you ask. But a pretty good definition, I think, is that life is objects that can reproduce and evolve, which contain the four major chemical elements that make up all life on our planet: hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen. Now, when we answer the question, how and why did life occur, we don't really know exactly. We're not sure what specifically caused the creation of life on our planet. And that's kind of strange. It's again a situation that we seem to keep finding ourselves in when it comes to examining our mysterious universe, that we can't answer the most basic questions of our existence. Now, with that being said, we do know the conditions that can lead to the creation of life on our planet. For instance, our planet had the right chemical elements for life to exist, the right atmospherics, and the right location from the sun. Now, the location from the sun is especially important because if it's too cold or too hot, no life can survive. Now, another bonus to our location that doesn't necessarily create the conditions for life existing, but does allow for life to continue to exist without going extinct. And for that, we have to thank, actually, a planet in our solar system called Jupiter. Jupiter is a gas giant and an enormous planet, and it has such a strong gravitation that it's often pulling asteroids that could be coming in and hitting Earth, possibly destroying it. But instead, Jupiter makes these asteroids come towards it, and they often get smashed by Jupiter, breaking into little pieces, and by the time they get to our planet, they have basically been too small to do any damage whatsoever. So without Jupiter, our planet may not even exist still today, despite that we have the conditions for life to form. Now, when it comes to the how and why life formed, there are some possibilities. Scientists do have some ideas. Now, the first idea that's probably the most obvious is that life formed due to just the elements that were naturally occurring on Earth, along with the other conditions, of course. But there are also a few more outside-the-box ideas that are also fairly legitimate possibilities. For instance, perhaps life on Earth actually came from outer space. It came from a different planet in our galaxy. For instance, it's possible that microbial life came by asteroid or comet to our planet and survived the impact and then spread and continued to live on our planet, eventually helping create life. Another possibility is that life came from Mars, in fact. There's a possibility, and there's been studies on this, that a piece of Mars could have landed on Earth and provided new chemical elements that Earth did not have already, therefore helping life emerge on our planet. Interestingly, if either one of those possibilities are correct, that would literally make you a descendant of aliens, which is kind of a strange thing to think about. Therefore, at the end of the day, all we know are the conditions that harbor life, but the main reason for starting life is unclear. We often think that we understand who we are and where we come from, but again and again and again throughout the history of the universe and everything that led to us, we have basic questions remaining unanswered. It just shows how little we actually know about our own existence. Now this brings us to the next topic. What was the first life on Earth? Well, 3.5 billion years ago, life on Earth started as tiny little bacteria. And a little bit later, 3.2 billion years ago, bacteria started to migrate on land. It began in the ocean and then move on to land. And around 3 billion years ago, we have the first single-celled organisms with DNA. Then 2 billion years ago, oxygen becomes breathable in our atmosphere, and the first eukaryotic cells form. And these are cells with a nucleus. And up to this point, there was no oxygen in our atmosphere. So life wasn't able to even live off of oxygen at that point in time. Then, 936 million years ago, the first plants start to form. 600 million years ago, the first multicellular organisms appear. And then we run into another question. How did we get from basic, microscopic, single-celled organisms to multicellular organisms? How do we get from basic life to complex life? And this is another question where we don't know how that jump happened. And that's still another big question that scientists are trying to figure out. Probably the most likely possibility thus far is that having multiple cells working together was more efficient for survival than just one. That is currently sort of one of the main ideas about why that might have happened. Finally, 540 million years ago, we have the Cambrian Explosion. This is an incredibly important historical event in the history of life on our planet, because this event all of a sudden created animal life. I'm not talking about plants or microscopic organisms. I'm talking about creatures with brains, with mouths, with vertebrae. These are the animal life that we know of and think of today. And so in our oceans, we have fish, we have crustaceans, we have all these creatures that are living on our planet all of a sudden. And this would eventually lead to our animal ancestors walking on land for the very first time. Therefore, to conclude this episode, amazingly, despite all the things that could go wrong, preventing life from ever existing on our planet, we are here today. And for all we know, we may be the descendants of aliens. Just try to process that tonight when you go to sleep. It is a very, very bizarre feeling, but a possibility, and something that most people don't realize. Therefore, as always, thank you for listening to Roots of Reality, and be sure to look up in the night sky tonight and thank Jupiter when you go to bed, because without Jupiter, you may not be here today. And remember, 13.8 billion years led to you, so make the most of it.